Hey guys, welcome to Whisktakers. My name's Leuven. Today we'll be looking at how to do what I think is one of the most important strategies in guild battle, which is to solo one single dragon by yourself. This is a common strategy used by many competitive high-ranking guilds, and we'll go into the how and why guilds should use this strategy. As per usual, timestamps for each section of the video will be in the description, so feel free to skip to the parts you want, since this video is quite long. Without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Why would you want to learn to solo? Well, it gives your guild a huge boost in trophy count, and it has a big effect on the number of dragons you kill each season. You have to think of guild battle as a marathon and not a sprint. It's not how fast you get to a high level dragon per day, it's more about how you can make sure you get as far as you can within the time frame. All guilds have different amounts of firepower depending on their roster, and it's really up to you to decide how best to coordinate. A part of the coordination is soloing dragons. By doing so, your guild members save a lot of potential hits and damage, and your guild is able to clear the first 20 or so dragons with just a handful of members, and your remaining members can hit as they will. But one thing you'll notice is that you preserve a good amount of firepower, so now you're probably hitting a higher first stage record on dragons. I won't tell you how to exactly organize for soloing because every guild has a different roster of players, but the general rule is to not use up all your low hitters for low dragons, so just try to spread it out evenly across the first 20 dragons. This will all come with trial and error. Some guilds can only solo the first 10, or maybe higher than just 20. Results and improvement will come as your guild gets more comfortable with the strategy and coordination. Now that we've gone through the advantages of soloing, let's go over the different ways to do it. For soloing, there really isn't a set topping build or anything for each team. It's more about the strategy itself, as well as your team's firepower to begin with. In this video, we'll go through 3 different teams to use for soloing depending on the cookies your guild members have available. The 3 strategies we'll cover are the Lico Team, the Shroom Team, and the Addie Team. All 3 teams have the same core principle, with just the difference of 1 unit. Let's look at the core of a solo team. First up, you'll need DC and Vamp, who are your classic guild battle team units. You'll then need Black Raisin. Black Raisin is especially needed in higher dragons to clear up minions, which will save you a lot of time. Even if she's not needed to kill minions, she can still provide a healthy chunk of damage towards the dragon. The last member of the core team will be Pure Vanilla Cookie. While her cookie is a valid substitute for PV, PV is still better for the bigger heal and the shield. If you don't have PV, you can still use Herb, but I would not recommend going past Dragon level 9 while using Herb, unless you know your Herb has enough juice to continue healing up your team beyond that level. Again, trial and error. I myself used Herb back when I was just a baby soloer doing the first 3 levels, so it is definitely possible. With your core team fully set up, let's delve into the different teams for soloing and how to execute each strategy. Lico solo is going to be the easiest one out of all 3, so I recommend this strat for anyone who's trying to solo for the first time, since this team is pretty identical to a standard team. Let's just go ahead and have a look at how a full solo run with this team should look like.
이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고. 최강의 해골이다. 숨어도 소용없어. 이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고. 물러설 수 없어요. 숨어도 소용없어. 이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고.
Alright, looks quite impressive. So how can you exactly replicate this? Let's take a closer look. The first cycle is pretty much the same as any battle. First up, Lico when he's off cooldown. Then, when PV reaches the pillar here, you can cast DC. When Sling is at 6 o'clock, cast Vamp. cast Lico and Sling when they're off cooldown, then Black Raisin after. When Dragon is about to summon minions, cast DC for the low delay. And then cast Vamp with Slingshot here. Right, here's when things will start to differ. You want to cast your PV before the meters fall, so when the dragon is roaring, you can cast PV, and the shield should protect your cookies from the hits. The Fire Breath is gonna knock your cookies back while everyone's stunned, but once you're moving again, you want to prepare to cast Black Raisin. Now this bit will depend, but to decide if you want to cast Black Raisin or not, see if the minions can be killed within 1 or 2 seconds. If they're still pretty strong, finish them off with Black Raisin, as this will save you time. If minions can be killed fast, then save for attack on the dragon for a bit of damage boost. This point onwards should be your second real cycle, so you want to cast DC when PV is at pillar, or at any point before the dragon attacks your team. Right here, Vamp finishes off the dragon, but there are times where this isn't the end. If that is the case, let's go over how to continue. First of all, the most important tip is to practice. After we're done going through all 3 strats, I'll be putting in a failed solo run where I timed out and messed up lots of timings, so you can study the dragon attack patterns. Step-by-step guides from us can only help so much, and it's up to you to practice and acquire the muscle memory for skill timings, along with the understanding of how the strat works and how to do your best with what little you have. Next, always make sure your DPS cookies are casting with DC and Sling effects. Damage is going to be key since you're also dealing with a short time frame, so making sure that you're dealing max amount of damage possible every cast is quite important. Lastly, just remember that it's still the same cycle. While this may seem like a lot of information to process, once you get used to it, you're pretty much repeating the same patterns over and over, lining up DPS with DC and Sling, make sure no cast get cancelled by the stun, healing when necessary, etc, etc. For this team, I'll give it a level cap at about Dragon level 12. This is personally the highest I've been able to take down with this team, and unless you have a stronger team with better scroll or higher bonds, it's best to put that limit there. So, that's the most basic solo team, and the easiest to master. Let's look at the next one, which is the Shroom Team. Shroom Solo is, in my opinion, easy to use, consistent, and strong. Shroom Solo can pretty much be used across every level of soloing, so if you're already using Shroom for your normal guild battle team, let's go straight to looking at how Shroom can spit on the dragon hard.
이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고 소용없어. 이걸로 끝이다. 이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고 소용없어. 물러설 수 없어요.
Okay, pretty good stuff. Now let's go ahead and break it down. At the start, you want to cast DC when PV hits a pillar, then Shroom 1 second later. Now, because you don't have Lico to tank the stuns for your team, you'll either have to cast Vamp right at 6 o'clock, or you wait till the stun is over. For me personally, I wait till the stun is over, but casting early works. Here's an example of it from another run by one of our members, Jan. Then, you'll want to cast Slingshot when it's off cooldown, and Black Raisin right after. Make sure to do this quickly so she doesn't get interrupted by the dragon's attack. When the dragon is summoning minions, cast DC for the delay, then Shroom. and Sling whenever the cooldown is up. Cast PV before the meteor falls. Note here in this video I didn't cast Vamp. That's because I casted Vamp late on the first time, and it's better to not risk his skill getting cancelled by just waiting for the next cycle. At here, same as Lico Team, you cast Raisin to clear off the minions if they cannot be killed within 1 to 2 seconds. Otherwise, just let your cookies finish the job, and save your skill for the dragon. Cast DC, then Shroom, Vamp and Sling after the dragon stun. Right here I also casted PV just to make sure Shroom can survive. In this video, my Vamp finished off the dragon, so let's go over what to do if the dragon is still alive. If you watched our Shroom strat video, you'll know about the risky Shroom strat. The idea of using Shroom in solos is basically repeating the risky part of Shroom's cast over and over for max amount of damage. You're making sure that Shroom's burst will also line up with Sling for that huge damage, alongside that sweet poison tick damage. Again, you're repeating that cycle in soloing, making sure your casts aren't cancelled by stuns, lining up DPS with DC and Sling, and most importantly, keeping Shroom alive. A big part of why Shroom works in high level dragons is because Shroom's extra damage is very useful, and it's just a very versatile strat. Although, if you're approaching higher level dragons, and find yourself having a hard time keeping Shroom alive, you may want to switch up the timings for Shroom cast to make sure the burst doesn't line up with Sling. I won't go into that in this video, but I may make a separate video for that for higher level dragons at some point in the future. If you're that kind of guy, this would just serve as a helpful little tip that you can expand on yourself, so good luck with that. Right, that about covers everything for Shroom solo team. Let's talk about the very last one, which is the Addie team. Addie has been used in guild battles for quite some time now, and the reason being, he's basically a mini Vamp, having 70% of Vamp's attack scaling. We've never really covered the double Addie strat on this channel for various reasons, but one of the main things is that it's very inconsistent at times, and even to this day we're still trying to figure out what are the factors that contribute to that inconsistency. If you have seen an Addie guide somewhere and use Addie in your regular team, then great, feel free to follow along this guide. If you do not have Addie built and ready to go, I do not recommend using any resources on him. Addie is not exactly a viable unit outside of guild battles, so if you are limited on resources, it's generally not recommended. You're better off using Shroom or even just Black Raisin. With that said though, if you do have Addie, you can definitely start to use him in solos. The footage I'm about to show you isn't exactly a perfect run, but it will give you a general idea on how a run should look like. Let's take a look. Okay, lots of stuff happened, so time to break it down. First, cast DC when PV is at pillar. Next, cast Vamp at 6 o'clock Sling. Since DC, Addie, and Black Raisin are all up front, Vamp won't get stunned. You can see here Jan cast a BR a bit too early, so I would suggest waiting until the stun is over before you cast her. Cast Sling whenever it's ready. When the stun is over, you can cast Addie and Black Raisin both together. Over here, this is a prime example of what is a panic cast. Remember, Only cast PV when your units are almost dying. Otherwise, save it for the meteor blow. When dragon minions are up, cast DC. When their cooldowns are up, you can cast Vamp and Black Raisin. Note here that Black Raisin is hitting only the minions, and this is to kill them off to save time. Over here though, you can see that Addie's cast was interrupted. If you have enough CD and maybe more attack speed on him, you'll be able to get his second cast off without any trouble. You'll then want to make sure you cast PV before the meteor strikes. Here, Jan had to wait till the stun is over before he could cast PV since he casted PV way earlier. After healing up, your next cycle continues, so you just have to start lining up your DPS with DC and Sling. Cast DC, Sling, then spam all 3 of DPS units together before the next dragon attack. At here, you just want to wait till everyone's cooldown is up again before you cast anything. Note here that Black Raisin's cast was interrupted, and it's recommended you save it for clearing out minions later when the stun is over. The reason why it's working out here is because the minions already have pretty low health, and when Black Raisin's attack was cancelled, her cooldown counter is immediately started back up again. After clearing out the minions, you'll just anticipate this stun, then deliver one last blow, and you're done. You're not really left with much time on the clock, so this is pretty much the last cycle you'll get. As you can see, Addie Team follows the same core principle I just talked about. After the first cycle of damage, you start to just line up all the DPS skills with DC and Sling, while trying to make sure no one's cast is interrupted. With Addie, you can solo pretty high dragons, as you can see here with Jan soloing level 21 dragon with this strat. All you need is to just refine it with practice and some better substats to suit your playstyle, and you're pretty much set for success. Soloing is an art to be perfected. You want to start at a low and forgiving dragon with the easier strat before you slowly get used to taking down the big boys with your big guns. The video I'm about to show you is one of many of my failed attempts at soloing, where I ran out of time before I killed the dragon. I intend this as a reference footage for the dragon's attack patterns that you can study for yourself, but it's also a reminder that these things happen more often than you think, and you will get better soon. Without further ado, let's play it.
최강의 해골이다! 이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고. 숨어도 소용없어. 이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고. 물러설 수 없어요. 이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고. 숨어도 소용없어. 물러설 수 없어요. 이걸로 끝이다. 목마르다고. 이걸로 끝이다. 숨어도 소용없어. 물러설 수 없어요. 목마르다고.
So, that was all the ways you can solo a dragon. I understand that this video has a lot of information, and I hope that it's organized enough that you can understand how to do its strat. However, if you have any troubles with following the strats at all, you can join our Discord server and ask us there. We're almost at 1,000 members, and you can join to have a chat with our community members, discuss strategies, and most importantly, ask for help if you have any problems with the game. Whisktakers is also currently open for new recruit applications, so if you'd like to shoot your shot in joining our guild, head over to the applications channel and fill out the necessary info. The admins will get back to you if you're accepted into the guild. We accept members of all kinds, no matter if you're a whale or a free-to-play player. Leave a like, subscribe, Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day. Just a quick special thank you to Jan and Carthage for helping me with the video. Jan for lending me the footage, and Carthage for helping me edit the script. You guys are really the best.
Have a good time. Enjoy life. Life is too short to get bogged down and be discouraged.